Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the March 20th Radnor Township School District Facilities Committee meeting, rescheduled from March 14th due to a snow emergency. First item on our agenda is introductions and administrative remarks.
I do not have any.
I do not have any remarks right now, and I will do my introductions a little bit later.
Okay, thank you. Moving swiftly on to public comment. Is there any public comment at this time?
Good evening, Cindy Spurtle, 106 Valley Forge Terrace Lane. I am on?
You're not.
Oh.
Now.
Cindy Spurtle in Wayne. Good evening. Just one quick before you approve the minutes, just so my public comment number 5 makes sense. Requested an explanation of how, if we could add the cost of the new bleachers have increased by 67%. It looks like it just says request an explanation of how bleachers at Radnor High School have increased 67%. So if we can just add those few words, how the cost.
Why can't I find this, Cindy? Where are you?
I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
minutes from last
Right, I have Michelle's
public comment at
comments.
the beginning of the meeting.
There it is. Got it.
Got it? Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm fine with that. You guys okay?
That's fine.
Okay. Is there any other public comment at this time? Okay, moving on. Next item is the approval of the minutes from the February 14th meeting with Ms. Spurtle's comments. Anything else, guys? Okay, the minutes stand as read with that change, correction, whatever, change. All right, moving on to agenda item number 1, which is the Ithan and Wayne construction updates. Todd?
Go ahead, I'll defer.
Michelle?
So as you know, out at Wayne, we've had some existing punch list items that we're trying to get finalized, and our hope was that we were going to have those done by the end of March. Unfortunately, due to the weather, we've not able to do the planting, so that will have to wait until the snow has melted. So that will happen hopefully the first or second week of April. But all of the other items have been completed, and the construction on the Ithan playground began today. So we're looking forward to the playground being refurbished so that we can install the new playground equipment and take care of that water problem that we had on the site. Todd, do you have anything to add?
I do not.
Okay. Any questions? Anybody? Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 2, which is the high school courtyard. And I'm going to hand this over to
Yes.
you. I don't know how you want to do
A
this.
little while ago, Mr. Bechtold approached me regarding my ops portion of the district responsibilities, regarding students approaching him to do some things to the courtyard and revamp it and make it more student-friendly. Mr. Bechtold and some staff, we went out and looked at it. We had some information from them, and I suggested that the staff and students come and present to you what they're looking at doing. And with that, I will turn it over, and we'll have some introductions. You're just going to have to hit that green button. Yep.
Yeah, just hit,
You're-
yep, you're on.
Do I have to sit? No. Hi, I'm Kathy Pearsall, the supervisor of the student government at Radnor High School, and I would like to introduce some of the members of the student government who are here tonight to make a presentation to you. We have 2 gentlemen, John Moeller, whom you know from his time working as our student representative to the school board, and a senior class officer, Matt McHugh. They will present to you this exciting plan for the renovation of the courtyard. And in the audience are 2 juniors, Macy Plotkin and Grace Wakayama. They are junior officers who will, we hope, be able to unveil the project next year to the school and community. So I'll turn it over to the boys.
Okay, it's on. Awesome. Well, thank you for having us. It's great to be back, but for this time, something a little bit different than the usual student showcase. Matt McHugh and I are here today to explain an idea that a group of people at Radnor High School have become increasingly passionate about and overall excited for, and been brainstorming for the past few months. And that idea is renovating the courtyard to be newer and fresher than it has looked in the last few years at least, to really give it the glow that it needs to have. So now I'll give you an update and an idea of the progress that we've had so far at Radnor High School. I'll briefly walk you through the history leading up to our current plan, which Matt will show you shortly. To begin, the initial plan came from the very top, Mr. Bechtold. He came to the student government to let us know that there had been previously unused raised money from the last post-prom that could be applied to another project. He recommended that it might be used for the courtyard, although it is really only a fraction of what we really need to completely revamp the entire space. The student council really clung to Mr. Bechtold's idea and thought it would be a great way to use the money. From here, we brought the idea to Mr. Leister to see if the engineering class could have any say in the project or even create some visual images of the space. The class really ran with the project at that point and even measured out the exact spacing of the courtyard and made really nice visual images, which we might display shortly. Also, Mr. Leister helped out and had some input in that as well. Mr. Bechtold, Mrs. Pearsall, and the student council came together one last time to discuss the pros and cons of the ideas until we really critiqued our plans and gave our plans to Mr. Leister, who then created really nice sketches up here. So now I'll give it over to Matt to talk to you about the fundraising and the images themselves.
So throughout this process, the student government leaders applied for a grant to the Radner Educational Foundation for $5,000, who said they will also match up to a $3,000 more that we raise. We also applied to the PTSA for $1,500, so combining all that money with the surplus prom money of $3,500, we could have up to $16,000. So after Mr. Bechtold, Mr. Leister, and Mr. Stitzel walked through the courtyard about 3 weeks ago, Mr. Leister helped finalize the plan for the space using the ideas and project templates. So the amount of concrete that we want to remove is about 360 square feet. If you look onto the TV screen, the grainy looking area is the concrete and the white is grass. So we want to put in new furniture, and it's not necessarily what you see there, but
flip to the second page?
yes. So if you can look, there's wooden benches, and we want to use a composite material, which is long-lasting, rectangular tables with connected seating, but what you see there isn't necessarily going to be there. Lower left is what is now a greenhouse, but we want to refurbish it and turn it into a hangout area. Seats and a countertop are planned to be placed inside with already available electricity. This new structure can be used for additional teaching space, and students can eat lunch or do homework during a free period. Top left corner is a open teaching space where we want to paint the windows with a glaze to avoid distractions from the inner hallway, and with the glaze you can also write on it with dry erase marker. There are rows of benches for students to sit in and a podium at the front for a teacher. Many teachers often express interest in doing some classes outside, but there's a lack of space to do so, and this space allows for teachers to go outside with their class and not have to deal with distractions. If you go back to the other, yes. So right now there is an overhang, which is the white rectangle in the middle of the screen that would stay, and that also has access to electricity. Under that are tables with umbrellas that could potentially go in. To the right of the overhang are more seating. To the right of that seating is landscaping, which would block off distractions to the classroom, which is to the right of that.
So you can see, like, most of it's pretty conceptual at this point, but we have our ideas down and we're ready to run with it. So that's where we are at this point.
So can I just ask a clarifying question? I think I misunderstood what you said. The white area is grass?
Yeah, but not where you see the rectangle in the middle. That's an overhang.
Oh,
It's a roof.
okay.
Yeah, with one exception there.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
So you can see there's a lot of concrete, so that's why we wanted to, like, potentially remove a little bit, give it more of a green vibe and a really greeny space, which is also kind of like, you can see, like, the place the greenhouse would have been. The greenhouse is kind of fogged up. It's old, for lack of better words. but there's a nice space to really fit the feng shui of everything, with a nice overhang. There's a nice vocab word. Ms. Pearsall is my
SAT
lit teacher.
word.
Yeah, there you go. So it's a nice space. Plants all around it. We really want to make the space as green as possible. Everything to go with it, from furniture to even the teaching spaces. So that's kind of our thinking.
So can you tell me how often this is used? Like, does anyone use it in the winter, or do people go out
In the
there?
winter, it's hard to use because the weather's cold and it's not really bearable to be out there, but it's always filled at lunches during the spring and early fall, and it's really hard to find a table. So I think if we revamped it, it would be even more popular.
So it is a in-demand space through all of the lunch periods. And how about not during that critical lunch period time? Do people still use it?
People still go out there, but there's not as high of a demand to go
Right.
out there. But it's still a nice place to do work and enjoy the outside.
Yeah, and even the art class will come out some days, which are inside. They have a door pretty much connecting to the open space. So if we give them more opportunity to sit down in this nice open space with the countertop there, it could give us space for the art club or the art studio to come out and really work on their art in a new, fresh environment.
So is part of the plan with this countertop, will it have outlets so people can plug in their laptops is that going to be part of
the
this?
greenhouse already has access to electricity,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, so it's not going to be
Wi-Fi.
exactly.
And
Oh, wow.
The plan is to
Okay.
have Wi-Fi out there.
Okay.
Yeah, which is not being utilized at this point. So.
This is fantastic. First of all, thank you, all of you, for working on this, and thank you for coming to share this with us. This is really exciting. So I'm going to turn it over to my fellow board members. Do you guys have questions about what you're seeing?
Since we-
Well, it was here when
Sure.
Since we have two former Radner
I was going to say
Radner
this was
students
here.
here.
Well, this was here when I was. The Courtyard was there when I
Not
went to high
with
school.
the
Which is not with all
Wi-Fi.
the, well, not with the
Not
Wi-Fi.
with
I mean, Wi-Fi didn't
Wi-Fi.
exist. Well, I was just. Well, my first question was this here when you?
Yes, it was. Sure it was, yeah. It was here before I went there.
Okay, I didn't know.
But it wasn't used this effectively. I like the idea that it connects. The two doors that are shown, are they both art rooms?
Yeah, when we're looking at to the top, the left side black and white plan, is the cafeteria running along that angle on the right?
Cafeteria's on the
Cafeteria is up top.
The cafeteria's on top.
The
okay.
art rooms are the bottom.
Yeah, yeah, and
the-
both
so
the doors
they're
on the
both-
bottom
right.
connect to the art room, and then the top ones are the cafeteria.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I think it's a great idea, actually.
The brick wall is going to stay. That is the art room wall.
Oh, yeah.
And
We're not-
hopefully landscape to
Oh, we're
cover
just-
some of the brick.
We're just trying to
We're going
orient.
to take
I
down that
know, I
one.
agree, I know, it's hard, and the kids who did the design aren't here, so
Yeah.
we've really included a lot of students in this project. When you consider the architecture and engineering students
Yeah.
and the student government, there's been a lot of talk back and forth. And I think I'd like to emphasize that the length that we go with it depends on how much money we raise. So
Well, that
since
was my
this
next
is
question.
out to
How
the
much-
community, the students are going to be doing some fundraising.
You should apply to the REF.
Well, they mentioned that.
Yeah, we did.
They did.
Where?
They said they got, what, 5,000?
Oh,
Yeah, we've.
From the
we've-
REF? Okay, because I heard the
we've-
PTO. I was writing stuff.
We
down.
went to the
Yeah,
ref has
5,000.
given us
Skills and
money
ref.
and the PTSA, and now the kids are going to do some of their own fundraising. In order to earn 3,000 more from ref, they need to earn at least 3,000 soon. So as soon as we have your blessings, we will go back and start to do our part to raise some money. The furniture is expensive if we want furniture that will be durable. Mr. Leister estimated that one bench, a rectangular table with attached benches made out of composite material is $795.
Isn't that just a?
That's
Picnic table?
one table with benches. So we have some work to do to make some more money.
It's not a. There used to be a woodshop class when I went to
Right.
Radner. That's how long
Don't
ago,
have that
but Not
anymore.
anymore.
And the other thing that the engineering students suggested and we are investigating is some kind of inexpensive way to maybe dress up the concrete that remains. That's a possibility also.
Deal with that like the garage epoxy paint.
Something.
Carpeting.
Something.
I do know in the past that we received some funding from, I think it was Mrs. Hamilton, when they, at one time, fixed the greenhouse.
Oh, really?
And she was part of the flower show,
Right.
all that kind of thing.
Right, I know that, yeah.
And
She
that
was-
was all done, yeah.
Take it down a greenhouse though.
You can't tell everything.
No, that's true.
Pearsall, would you like to say if community members would like to donate,
Yes.
where they should send the checks and make them out to?
Well, very soon, as soon as we know that you all are fine with this project, we will have the students write something, and it will be in the newsletter that comes out every week from the school district, and we'll try to advertise it other ways too.
And just so the committee knows, I did walk the area. I walked it with some of our maintenance guys. So some of our guys will help in this example, taking down the greenhouse, and we'll have to decide what we want to do with that. If there's another school that would need it or something like that, maybe we could donate it to them. But the district will help where we can with the minor things to help offset their costs.
And another thing you could do with the picnic tables or the tables, you could have people donate them or make a contribution, and they could sponsor a picnic table.
You could
And
sponsor.
then,
Yeah.
different things
A
like
The
that.
kids have great ideas.
Yeah,
They-
I'll bet they're,
That'd be great, yeah,
3 steps
yeah.
ahead of us.
No, that's great. No,
I don't really see a
we're
downside
grateful
here. Yeah.
for all of the ideas, and I think you'll be hearing from them.
So I'd like to get some movement on the committee. If we can start this project, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I don't see the downside.
Well, you see heads nodding. I think we're in
are.
unanimous support of what you want to do.
Yeah,
so.
get it finished by the start of next school year, because that's when my daughter starts in high school.
We wanted the seniors to be able to enjoy it this year, but it just took a lot of planning.
Well, it snowed last week, yeah.
It will be their legacy to the coming students.
Well, what we always say is we should be a student-driven school,
Well, we are.
and we are. So that's great for you to come forward like this, and I appreciate all the efforts that were made on behalf of the school. Thank you.
We're very excited. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
All right. Do we want to jump to
$5,000 already.
the trail since I see they're here? I'm going to jump to item 4 since I see people waiting. Agenda item number 4 is the Radner Trail update.
And I will turn it over to Mike Christofko.
Thank you. As you know, we've been going back and forth and negotiating the terms of documents in order for the township to construct a trail along property that where the high school sits along Route 30. And there have been a lot of questions raised as to exactly the scope and really some more technical details about what the trail is going to look like, how it's going to be designed, how it's going to be constructed. And so there are 2 representatives here from the township who are going to provide an overview as to what that project is going to look like as best as they know right now, what the timetable for that project is, the status of the funding, the grant monies for that project, and to also answer any questions that the committee might have about the physical appearance and layout and such of the trail. As far as if anybody from the committee has questions about the legal documents themselves, those questions should be directed to me, and I can answer those separately.
All right.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for having us here. I'm Stephen Orsini, Director of Public Works for Radnor Township. This is Jeff Creary from Simone Collins. He's the lead designer on the proposed trail. And based on what your solicitor put forth, I'll let Jeff step you through the basics of where we stand in the schedule on the trail, and we can answer questions from there.
It's been a while since I've been here. It's good to be back, and I'm really happy to tell you that we were awarded $1.75 million on a couple grants, 3 grants. One's federal, the other state. They all have their own nuances and their the rules and regulations behind them, but we're moving forward, and as always, we're trying to keep everyone updated in what we're doing. So tonight we'll focus just on the school property. As you know, the school property there along Route 30, it's one of the very few places in Radnor Township on Route 30 that doesn't have any pedestrian access. It's interesting because you go out there and you look at the snow that we just had, and you see footprints out there, but yet these people don't have anywhere to walk. So really, this trail is a continuation of the Radner Trail, and giving access going further out Lancaster. And yeah, that's really the overview of what's going to happen. What we're looking at is putting in a trail that's an AASHTO standard trail, which has its own guidelines. The engineers have very finite rules of how to design the trail. And what we're looking at trying to do is get a 30-foot right-of-way. The reason why we're getting a 30-foot right-of-way, we really don't know where the right-of-way is right now. We don't have a survey yet. We're still in the process. And so we don't know exactly where it lays. We do not want to get more or ask for more later on. We would rather, ask for more now and get less later. We don't have intentions of taking more land. We just need to play it safe. We don't want to build obtrusive walls. We would like to blend this, nicely into the landscape there. It's the 30-foot. We realize will encroach on trees. We will have to replace trees. It's going to happen. A lot of the trees are adjacent to the road, and there was discussion on what type of size tree we're going to replace and how it's going to be done, and what the trail is going to look like too. Which leads into the trail type. It would be an asphalt trail, very similar to the Radner Trail existing right now, and we know that there are concerns with the cross-country trail being adjacent to there because a small portion of it is used right now. We would have the cross-country trail. There'd be plenty of room parallel to it. They could even use it.
We have gotten further information about that. Oops, I turned it off. We've gotten further information about the cross-country needs for the team, and they actually said it's fine to use this trail that's asphalt. They do not need a dirt trail at all. So, and that was something I also was confused about, but that has been clarified, that they do not need a separate trail parallel to this.
Great, yeah, I've always thought that myself, but we were always accommodating. So that's wonderful news, because this facility will give them a much better race. Let's see. We do have certain regulations we have to meet. With federal guidelines, we don't know, we have to meet, the federal guidelines, and we have to meet DCNR guidelines. So there are all these regulations that we have to meet with the grants. So we're trying to, skillfully and, do it right. It's just one of those things that has been, it's been tough because we were able to get all these funds and match them together without causing much cost to the township. So that overview.
And to add to what Jeff had said, so the three grants, so probably the most, and for lack of a better term, onerous requirements are in the PennDOT grant, and sometimes there's actually, they're at cross odds with each other. So our consultant has to dance a fine line to make sure we meet all the grant requirements. And as noted, so these are reimbursable grants, so the township would put the money out first, and then in accordance with each different grant, we would get reimbursement after a certain amount of time when the work was done, approved, and inspected. And, just a real quick hit on the schedule. This is very general at this point. So from now to August of 2018 is the design, engineering, permits, and PennDOT clearances. Again, each grant has specific requirements for these clearances, the PennDOT being probably the most, again, detailed. August 18th through January 2019, project bidding. And this is all based on the Board of Commissioners, the school board, and everybody approving everything. So this is a proposed schedule. February of 2019 through May, the contract would be let and mobilization would happen, and construction would actually begin somewhere in the June timeline and be completed roughly near the end of 2019. So it sounds like a lot of time, but we met with our DVRPC rep, and as she stated, it isn't a lot of time to go through all these machinations to get the grant, to meet the grant requirements. So at first blush, you say, boy, that's a while, but it really isn't with what we have to do to get to the point to be able to start going to bid.
Can you just say what the second piece of the timeline was? You said August 2018 to
January 2019.
What is happening then?
That's basically the bidding period.
Okay.
So that would be the advertising of the bids. We use Penn Bid. I don't know if the school district does. It would be put up on Penn Bid for X days. We allow a certain amount of time for questions in a pre-bid meeting. After that, the bids are due. The consultant and staff, we review those bids along with the solicitor and make a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. And hopefully everything is well and we can recommend the lowest responsible bidder and move forward.
You're aiming to be done construction, when was that?
June
The end of 2019.
Oh, you're going to start June?
Right.
June
And
okay.
We have through November / somewhat
Okay.
later. It's obviously
It's open-ended.
weather dependent.
Okay. I have a question. So I had heard that there's also plans to extend the trail along the old railroad line, which would be south of Lancaster still at this point.
That is another project, but yes, there are plans for that.
So would that project still go forward if we do this section of the trail? Because then we're basically going to have two trails that are parallel to each other. Because that part of the railroad is...
That would be an out and back, being the reference that you would go out and back. It would be a dead end.
Oh.
The Radnor residents have really been vocal about
Right.
extending that.
Okay.
And that has been done with another consultant with Radnor Township. I personally am not working on it, but I am part of the Trails Council, so I've been, keeping up with what's going on.
Well, because I just wondered why we wouldn't hook up to that, because we're really going to end up with two trails that are parallel to each other if they go and just end somewhere.
Well,
So
but-
why isn't there a way to...
Well, the one
Radnor Trail extension, so if you look at it from where it is today and where the railroad is,
P&W.
that's considerably south of Route 30 at
Yes.
this point. So,
Yes.
as Jeff said, it's an extension of the existing trail. It will dead end. We do have future plans to someday go further, but it would dead end for now. So it is considerably off Lancaster Avenue. That's why the circuit trail, the circuit path becomes so important. Because this is really, if you picture Radnor Chester Road back by what is the bridge and where you see the existing Radnor Trail, that's where the old railroad is. So it's not,
Right.
it does not connect up with 30. And one of the items when these folks did this, they looked at the intersection of Route 30 and Radnor Chester, and to try to make this more pedestrian friendly. That's one of the items we have heard for students, for folks that work over in the corporate center, and that comes to play with partially with having this trail over there.
Okay, so the piece that you're putting on the Radnor High School property, are you planning then to go down Radnor and Chester Road and hook up to the path?
Yes, there will be.
Okay. And then this separate project will be extending that to a dead end?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, we weren't
Okay.
able to really get these grants to put that project in.
Okay.
It just wasn't attractive. We weren't able
Okay.
to get to the public transportation, employment centers. This project really did. It went throughout the entire township, all the users, not
Right.
just the trail user of the Radnor Trail.
Okay.
I would just, since I also serve on the Park and Rec Board, there has been discussion that down the road, there's a possibility of connecting the two. So that if you were to get on Radnor Trail up and off Sugartown Road, you'd be able to bicycle up to the high school. So it would then be replacing some cars, which is what one of the purposes of what we're trying to do is. So
Oh, right.
that has been talked about, but not right, well, you can drive, but you can't get onto the high school property without crossing over
Right.
Lancaster Pike on a bike.
Right, but so this project will hook up to the trail. I was just inquiring about that other piece.
I'm
Like,
saying eventually that other piece could also be hooked up.
it
and come
won't. You
across.
just said it's going to be a dead end.
No, I'm just saying there has been talk. I'm on the Park and Rec Board.
Yeah,
I'm just
and
sharing with you the
long-
conversations
Probably like
we had
15 years.
in the Park and Rec Board. They're going to continue to try to make these trails more friendly to bicycle traffic to replace the carbon.
Well, right. which I'm all in favor of,
Right.
but you're basically saying exactly what I was asking, which is if they do that piece,
Right.
do we need to do this piece or do we need to do that piece? Because they're going to be parallel to each other.
Oh,
That's what you're pointing
down
out.
the road.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, right, down the road, they may hook up so you can come down the old P&W track and go right to the high school without going across 30 on a bicycle. What they're proposing now is you would come down the trail, get off on Radnor Chester Road, and then cross 30 on a bicycle. You have to go across 30 physically and then pick up this new piece that we're putting in. That's what we're going to do right now.
Right.
I was just offering some
Yeah, no, I know.
conversations that we've
We're-
had
Well, we're
for
thinking
future.
along the same lines,
Mhm.
is that we're basically going to end up with a square then
Conceivably, as Mr. Madden said,
of all this
it's
paved
many
stuff.
years into the
Right,
future.
right.
Okay.
And nothing is by any
Okay.
means
That's what makes me
concrete.
laugh. It's
so
all
it-
about, trails to get outside,
It could,
it's all paving.
Campbell
but
Thomas
it's
is
Jersey
doing
Turnpike.
that for the township.
Mm-hmm.
It could stay as
Okay.
it is, as an up and back, as Jeff said. It could extend conceivably over the Blue Route. There's been talk of a
Okay.
pedestrian bridge over the Blue Route. So there's all these ideas out there, but nothing firm at this point.
Well,
Okay,
and there's
got
grant
it.
monies available to do some of that, which is what you guys
Yes.
have brought forward, so
Okay.
I like the conceptual idea. Do we have any questions about?
Yeah, you
Well,
had some
Mike's our
questions. Are you
questionnaire.
satisfied?
Well, I wrote something late last night, and now, of course, spent all day on the turnpike, and I'm like, but you're not in the design phase, though, right? I mean, like,
Correct.
of what this is
Yeah,
going to
we're
look like now, because all of my questions were based on basically what's going to look like now with it. Because I mean, the perfect place for this trail, as you're talking about the 30-foot right away, the 12-foot paving, and all that, is right where all the power poles are, where all the utility lines are. And I imagine Pico's not going to be receptive to moving them all.
Right,
Or,
and that's
I
why
mean-
we do need a survey. We don't
Yeah.
have a survey yet, so we don't know exactly
And
where everything.
so I imagine that PennDOT's right of way extends further than the paving. Then there's Pico's right of way. Can all these and then there's the right of way for this trail. Can they all coexist and overlap or not? So, 'cause that was one of my questions. You got the PennDOT right away, and then you got the Pico, utility right away, and then you're going to have the trail right away, and then you're going to have 15 feet of trees left before you get to the high school.
Well-
And, the other thing that I had about the trees was, you mow down a lot of these trees, which granted a lot of them are old, probably got to go anyway, but
Yes, some do.
instead of replacing them with deciduous trees that were there, think about replacing them with evergreens so that there's a noise barrier and a visual barrier between Route 30 and the high school. And, if you make a barrier of evergreen trees on the Route 30 side of the trail so that it walls off the trail from Route 30, so that people, using the trail aren't being assaulted by the cars on 30,
Looks better.
that kind of thing.
That would probably require more right of way if we were to put them in there.
Well, I mean, you got to put trees anay.
Right,
To replace the ones you cut down to
Yeah.
put the trail in. So instead of just replacing the trees, a maple for a maple or whatnot, but replace like a maple with a Leland cypress or something like that.
Yeah, we could look into that. Yeah, that design hasn't been.
Yeah, and then the other question I had a couple of design questions. Oh, there you go. Chuck was so nice to print it out for me. I was actually coming off the Blue Route today, and when between the Blue Route southbound off ramp and the tennis courts, that set of woods was underwater today. There's a couple feet of water, so I imagine you guys are going to have to do a lot of filling or remediation,
Well, we don't want to go into the
stormwater.
woods.
So I don't know how you're. Well, I mean, you're going to have to, because I don't know if you've been out to the site, but it's not that. The wood starts 6-8 feet from Route 30 at some points, and then there's the curb cut off of 30 for the ambulance. There's a stream there. It's just basically design questions that we've got that you're going to have to answer once the survey comes,
Correct.
because we just want to keep this as
Yeah.
minimal as possible and keep that buffer between the 30 and the school.
As do we, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the township's goal also, to be as less intrusive as possible.
Yeah. Well, personally, I'm speaking for myself. I'm in full support of this. I'm excited about this whole idea. So we don't want to hold it up in any way. That's kind of been our committee's stance on this. So we appreciate you coming and updating us. We're thrilled you got your grant money.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, I
a
thought
good
you
idea.
were further along than than you
Oh,
are with the
we would
design, because
love
I
to
had
be.
design questions.
Like
That's
to
what,
be.
all my stuff, so.
We'll be back when we have plans for you to review, absolutely.
Yeah, we would love to come back and always, keep this as open as possible, show you what we're doing, what the designs are looking at, and if you guys have any concerns whatsoever, feel free to contact me or Steve. We're always available. It's important that everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah.
We very much appreciate your time and support. Thank you very much.
Since we have your ear while you're here,
Oh, boy.
When are you going to pave the roads?
no.
Going. Where are you
Close to
going?
the trail, there's the proposed trail that we're putting in. We have the sign that goes overhead.
The masthead.
Yeah, and that's almost in disrepair. So if you could push that over to PennDOT and say it needs to be painted, it needs to be repaired, because that's theirs, and it makes our property devalued. So we would appreciate it if PennDOT. I walked that trail.
No, which one?
The big sign that's over the top that has where the Blue Route is and entrance and this and that.
I know which one you're talking about.
You know what I mean, yeah.
Yep.
That something has to be done with them. So we would just appreciate it since you guys have the,
If you're talking to PennDOT, tell them to pave the roads.
I mean, they're making you guys jump through
All
some
right.
hoops about a
We're kind
grant.
of getting a little off topic here.
No, that's right on the trail.
Yeah.
It would be pretty close to there.
It is right there. I'm a resident of the township. I run by there all the time, so I've looked at that masthead too. I
Yeah.
know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'll bring that up to them.
Thank you, Mr. Norsini.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
Thank
thank
you all.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you too. All right, and jumping back to item number 3.
Yeah, according to the EPA laws, the school district must designate a person to ensure requirements are properly implemented within our AHERID management plan, which also is our asbestos plan. And since we need to designate a person, I asked around, and currently the CCIU, MCIU, DCIU, and 30-plus other school districts use environmental control systems as their designated person. What the designated person has to do is provide re-inspections every 3 years, 6 months re-inspections for all asbestos, provide training and audit, and do other facilities management information. I am not qualified to do that. I did ask around who our previous designated person was. Without contacting Leo, I wasn't able to find out who that was, so I'm not sure. It may have been, but since all these other school entities are using it in the IUs, I'd like to recommend to move this forward to the board for the board meeting next week in order to designate them as our AHERID person.
Just one question, how much would this cost us?
It's basically, the designee is no charge, but then obviously with the training, and there's an attachment that I can provide next week for the board meeting. The training is $500.
Oh.
Professional engineering is $120. So it depends what we need. The safety technician is $110 an hour. So it's pretty standard amounts, and we just need to designate a person to do all those trainings.
And that would bring us into compliance.
And that would bring us into compliance. We would not have any liability for the district. It would all be on this company in order to, if we designate them.
Okay,
I'm in favor of that.
sure.
Yeah, if they take all the liability.
They've got all the liability.
Okay.
And that's all it is. So then you'll see it on the board agenda for next week.
Okay.
All right? And
All right,
that's I
thanks
have.
for
Thank you.
picking that up. Okay. Is there anything else from administration?
I do not have anything.
You're good? Okay, is there any public comment at this time?
Could I have some new business? When does that come up?
It's not on our agenda, but,
Do that.
I have
all right.
a public comment. You come on up. We don't need you. You sure?
She's going to comment on your new business.
All right, put your mic on.
What I would like to bring up is the tri-party agreement with the township and whoever the other party is and the school district in regards to the bridge that goes across Matson Ford Road. I've noticed, and many people have told me, that it needs to be painted, basically, cosmetic repairs. I understand that it is structurally sound. I had a conversation with the township as part of the Parks and Rec Board, which allows us to discuss what they're doing in the different parks, and there's a township park right next to it. So Susan Michelson and myself were curious of why the township wasn't going to put money into the repair of that. And they asked us to look into the agreement to make sure that it's who pays for it. So I would like to find out who's responsible, so we can then move forward, and whoever the responsible parties are will take care of that, because most people think it belongs to the school district as you're driving by. So I'd like to find that out, and then we can move forward.
Okay.
Yeah, that's from the
Thank you.
Radner Memorial Field to Radner Elementary School.
You know what he's talking
Well, the
about, right?
corporate center.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just leaned over to Michelle and said, we've got to find the document because neither of us know exactly where that
Right.
document is.
That's what I said when they brought it to me, yeah. I said, yeah, let me see that document.
Okay. All right, so more fun to come. Okay. Public comment? I bet I do too.
Speaking of structurally sound, when we were talking about the bleachers, thank you. The inspection was made, but I don't know if it was, the report was given, and yes, they're structurally sound, but how long are they going to be structurally sound?
We received the report for the internal bleachers. We have not received the report as of today for the external bleachers, so we're still waiting
And
for
those are the
that.
ones that everyone's been talking about, correct?
Correct.
The extra,
So the same company did all of them, and in my mail today, I had the inspection reports for internal. So actually, a comment to my secretary was, where's the external bleachers?
which is the one everyone is concerned about. Thank you. That was a great presentation by the students for their new courtyard. I didn't hear any projected costs.
Well, they
Mentioned.
said it
Now, I know
depends how
how
much they can raise, so that was left open.
Is that was,
That's
okay.
what they said.
Now, they've been guaranteed 5,000 with an extra
No,
3,000
they already
match.
have way more than that. They
But,
almost
from
have
the-
up to
from REF.
15,000.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
they raised 15 or 16, right?
Okay.
They-
REF,
Ref-
it was the
Ref-
REF that was going to go an additional 3,000.
Ref produced 5,000, and if they can raise 3,000, Ref will match the
Would
additional
match the
3,000.
additional.
And they
Okay.
also got 1,500 from PTS, from the PTSA at the high school.
So
yeah.
whatever's raised, so there's no cost to the district.
Exactly.
Well-
The only cost to the district would be our labor to helping them out here and there.
Cost to the district, yeah.
Well, and I won't say that there won't be. I don't know what they want to do yet. I mean, if they come forward
But
with a
you've given
grand
the approval to
idea
go ahead with the
that
idea.
needs us to
Yeah.
put forth 3,000 more to finish it, I mean, I won't say we won't do that.
If they want to put granite counters in, we're going, no, you're
We might
getting,
stop it.
yeah.
But they would have to
You're
come,
getting
they
Formica
would have to come back
kids.
to us if it's going to cost us any money.
And the other I didn't hear, were, just out of curiosity, was the seating capacity. How many of the students can be out there during a lunchtime?
Well, I don't know about that, but I did ask, and they said it's like you can't get a seat there during lunch hour.
Well, yeah, but I
so-
mean, the new new
I bet
design.
that depends on how
They
much
don't-
money
How much
they
money
raise to
they
how
raise.
many
Okay.
tables they
Tables
buy.
they can get right
Cindy,
there.
you can sponsor
I mean,
a table.
I mean, an
It
8-person.
sounds like there'll be an opportunity.
We want the students to exercise, not sit around.
Yeah, an 8 to 12-person picnic table at $7.50 a shot.
Then we want that trail. We need that trail. Okay.
And on the trail, I'm just going to bring it up because you already spoke, and I know we're not at the design phase, but every time we talk about the trail.
Well, you kind of don't.
And the
I kind of want
trees-
to bring it up now because, it's one of these things, especially when the township does things. It's like all of a sudden you're there, and they're like, "Well, we did this,"
Right.
Or
you
it
gotta-
takes 3 or 4 years to make a decision. And we've discussed this before, and I know you will make sure that the trees that are cut down, whatever the replacement trees are, it should be the identical rules and regulations that the residents of
Yeah,
township
the residents have
have
to do
to.
for the shade tree
It should,
ordinance.
yes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we are adjourned until our April meeting. Thank you.